All right. So, Nikos, welcome to the TechDrive, the one of the early episodes, and I'm super happy to have you here. So, I was looking a bit about your background. So, you come from Greece originally, right?
Yes.
And how long have you been in Switzerland already?
So thank you for having me, Justinas. Thank you for the drive. It's not the best day, but that's even better. Driving
exactly. Avoid the rain a little bit.
Yes. So I came from Greece during COVID, actually, 2020, to do a second master's.
Second master's.
Yes.
Okay.
So actually, I graduated from mechanical aeronautics engineering. Then in Greece, we have this integrated master's program. It's 5 years. So basically, you go there 18, you finish at 23, and like actually only 13% of people graduate in 5 years.
13.
Yes.
Wow. Okay.
From my department. And after I did my first applications, I decided to drop out of the PhD and go to ETH, to the MTech department, which is like a management degree for engineers. Also, it was during COVID. It was like a nice wedge towards Switzerland.
Okay, so that's interesting. You really went from like solving purely technical problems
Yes.
to more solving people problems.
Yes.
Right? Kind of.
Yes.
In that. And happy with the choice? Like kind of to move on?
Yes, couldn't be happier. Because like I fell in love with the energy of people in startups. So it's not that say, oh, technology is not important, but it's like there is a way to implement technology in real world scenarios
Yeah.
and going out of the lab.
So I guess you would disagree with the statement that sometimes, it's around social media that good technology sells itself. That is not necessarily true, right?
Not necessarily, and this is like the first case that comes in mind is like Betamax versus the VHS, right?
Yeah,
Betamax
exactly.
was superior technology, but like I think it was lighter, so VHS got the better of the distribution, right? So in a sense, you have a better outcome and a better technology that loses to an inferior, more distributable one, right?
And you also worked in smart textiles
Yes.
for a while,
Yes.
right? It's quite funny because I actually had one of the early T-shirts as
Oh,
well
amazing.
for testing. I think it was still using the Decathlon T-shirt and embedded sensors. So it was quite cool. So maybe you can tell a bit more about Nanolec.
I had the chance to do like quality assurance for them, like when the product was being launched. So very exciting time for the company. And like the first time I wore the T-shirt, like to give some context, like a T-shirt where it measures breathing rate and heart rate, but not with a PPG sensor, but it has dry electrodes. So you get a better quality signal, and then everything is measured in milliseconds. So actually you can see the impact your breath has on your cardiovascular system. And then we're also building algorithms for estimating the autonomic nervous system activity. Like the first time I wore the T-shirt and like, you breathe and you see the things on the app moving on real time. I think this is a magic moment, right? Because like, was it Arthur Clarke that said that if technology is advanced enough, you cannot tell it apart from magic. It was a very complex product, right? Because you have the smart textile, you have the embedded software, you have the e-components, you have like an app, you have like the Bluetooth connectivity. Company had like 30 employees, which sounds a lot for a startup. But if you break it down into functions, it was like 2-3 engineers per team maximum.
Yeah, exactly. And solving something that quite often is tackled by like big tech companies. And I mean, it's extremely hard. I also like the product a lot. Response rate was really fast. You can like throw it in a washing machine and all this to make it like usable every single day. Now you're president of JFloor.
Yes.
Right? Probably first time I met you was in the opening event. We had like a brief chat. I loved the story behind it because I also did my master's at ETH, and there was always like clusters of people doing something in some corners, and that's in a way how JFloor came to be. So maybe you can tell briefly like a backstory of JFloor, how it started, and why is it now not at ETH anymore?
We all started from the Student Project House, which, by the way, I think they just completed their 10 years of existence. So very happy for them. And like I have been part of them like more or less since the time I came. There, of course, they had some problems with COVID. So, like, while things, as soon as things were open, I started there as a makerspace manager, they called it at the time, which basically have a fab lab, 3D printers, laser cutters, and I was like, that's another difference with mechanical engineering in Greece and ETH is we don't have the resources to actually work with hardware. So I was like, I'm a mechanical engineer. I've never operated machines. Like that's my chance to do it. And then they had these tiers like you can start in the makerspace, like doing whatever you want to do, like hobby projects, and then you could transition in becoming a project. Project can be anything extracurricular and can be commercial or not commercial. So I told you I came to Switzerland with this hunger for startups. We were working at the J floor at the student project house. We had a silent room, there was a dining area, and there that's where the dynamics that now shape J floor started forming. People were getting locked in the silent room, and like you would go and you would see the same faces every day. It's like David from Bloom, Sarah who's now in browser use, like Magnus and Greg met there from browser use. So you started seeing these like serendipitous meetings. You started seeing like people being very ambitious and like very hardworking, and like you would see it day over day before they made it. You see how fast things can move. Like your friend, like coding, like not working much harder than you, not being particularly smarter, like very brilliant people, right? I got out of this room because I felt I'm the dumbest person in the room.
But that's one of
and it
the
has
best
to
setup, right?
absorb all that. Yeah, exactly.
That's the learning environment. If
Yeah,
if you're the dumbest person in the room, that means you're growing.
Yes, exactly. And I say this as a comment, like I love being the dumbest person in the room. There, the first successes started coming. I think the first one was like a Nunu AI with Jan Snyder. I think they applied to YC without knowing what YC is.
Nice.
So they were working with early stable diffusion models, and their first idea was to sell T-shirts.
Okay. So it's all about pivots eventually.
Yeah, but like now they have like I think they're the company furthest ahead in computer use. They just launched computer use, so starting from gaming QA, now doing computer use. So like I think is one of the most exciting companies, and like being able to say we started from the same place, and like it's so exciting.
So as you mentioned that you need sponsors, and like the whole idea of JFloor is that it's a space for very early stage founders at idea level.
Yep.
And basically you give like a desk, a community in a way, and like a place, but you don't take anything back, right? You're like no equity, no payment. Mainly you rely on sponsors in this case, right? To fund because you still have the rent, you have to install the space. The opening event, you also said that for the installation, you literally laid the carpets, painted the walls. You showed like some short videos. Like the team did that themselves, which is quite amazing.
I would say the community. JFloor is a community anchored around the space. And why do we need the space? Because the environment that you are in shapes your behavior. And the community is like the people, and that's what we try to keep the quality bar high. We're trying to get the people that are working on ambitious things. So it's not a place for freelancing in a sense that we don't want people that are doing something stable and like they can stay there for years. It's something that has the potential for growth.
So it's really for risk takers, like come here, give it a try. Once you grow, then of course you'll need more space, and naturally.
Exactly, and that's how it's getting formed. It's especially for brilliant people that are making something that doesn't yet make sense. If you're making something that makes sense, you can form a business plan, you can go to an accelerator, you can raise money, but like, where do you go when you start something and it doesn't make sense? And the best ideas start without making sense. There's a lot of great innovation happening from things that are built through planning and through years of research, and then especially in Switzerland, deep tech is a big strength of the country, and these things take a lot of coordination and years of effort. However, there is space for things that you start that don't make sense in the beginning.
Yeah.
And you just have to try them.
So I mean that's quite cool because you're standing next to all the accelerators, like incubation platforms and so on. You're not really competing, but really complementing that.
Exactly.
For people that maybe will not get accepted there because, as you say, it's not necessarily meeting the criteria. Do you get a lot of applicants?
Yes.
Okay.
The
How do you
problem
handle
is
that?
the problem is we get more applicants that we can handle because we're set up as an association. We're non-profit.
Yeah.
We're doing this on the side. We're all founders ourselves. So we build this space because that's the place we want to work from. And we believe that the exchange of ideas that happen in an organic way and not in a planned way is like very valuable. The exchange of ideas, networks, tips, tricks, like between founders at various stages. So it's not only pre-idea. I actually have people that have already raised money. So it's, being able to talk to 2, 3, 4 people that have already fundraised already puts you ahead. Like instead of getting advice from somebody who hasn't raised a round.
Yeah, so kind of getting first-hand experience and feedback, because I know there's quite a lot of training, let's say, for investor pitch decks, but it's still extremely hard to make it the right way, especially for like pre-seed round. But there's also for talking to corporations and so on. That's something that I focus on. It's also like I was a founder myself after my bachelor's. And it's unknown. You have no idea how to do things. You're just driven. You have great ideas. You have
what's the next task? And that's how we've been dealing with JFlor from the beginning. Like if we were relying on a business plan, JFlor would not exist.
Yeah, that's true.
Right? It didn't make any sense, and a lot of people told us it doesn't make any sense. Yet here it is. And now we So thanks to our sponsors, like Founderful was like our first believer. Like they sponsored us before we had anything. Alfred, the law firm, also they were from the get-go. They believed in us. Then we have like Project A is part of our sponsors. ARC investors also there. Generally, the House of Insurtech of the insurance company. And I hope I'm not forgetting somebody.
We'll add it in the caption. To secure the sponsors, it can be easy, right? Because you're kind of selling something that does not exist.
There's no direct ROI.
Yeah, exactly. No direct ROI, so it has to... How did it go? I mean, in the event you mentioned, you literally did like thousands of reach outs, right? And calls and...
We did as a team around 500 calls.
500, okay.
I think I did 120 or something like that. People either get it or they don't. And we're doing this for the ecosystem. What we lose in the short run, like as like the JFlor board is like time from our ventures, like Matteo and Ricardo literally lost customers doing this, but it's something that we've like, I think if you try to raise up the ecosystem, it's like a tide and everybody raises up. So I think the people that are supporting us realize this, that if these things exist, everybody's better off. If you think about it, it's more of a secondary effect. Like if our sponsors like have a slight information advantage and like they invest in a company that then becomes a unicorn, the sponsorship is very negligent to what they can get in the long run.
And I guess they build a relationship early on with the companies. Some of them will fail, some of them will grow, and they already have the trust and kind of engagement with people there.
And again, we're founder first. We don't, the founder is on the steering wheel. We don't have any structured deals. There's no preference. There's no that you have to talk to them first. It's more of like, when somebody's fundraising, it makes like the first people we're going to recommend them with is like to our sponsors, not because they're giving us money, but also because we like them.
Like, I guess every day you see a lot of technologies being developed, a lot of ideas. What is very exciting to you now? Is there something standing out that you think is like, okay, this is amazing,
So, and especially it's something that I'm seeing now, right? Where like 2026, we're 2026, like, the agentic hype, I won't say it's over, but like now you see companies that are not doing the agent for. It's actually, there's an agent is integrated in a product that delivers value. And then the companies I love, have a hardware component or they're doing software for hardware. Now we have a few people that are doing software for chip design. Cost of getting into robotics, the cost of deploying robotics, the cost of, with coding agency, like you accelerate everything around robotics. So in the physical AI space, it's really exciting because you start using software, which is like by definition scalable into the physical world, which has been kind of being neglected in the past like 15 years in terms of venture capital, at least. Like everything in the 2015 age onwards was like B2B SaaS,
Yeah,
which
exactly.
has its value, right? But like now I think we're entering a very exciting era of like, as I told you like before, magic, right? There's like rocks that are moving and doing intelligent things.
Yeah. So would you say in that what Jensen Huang has said from NVIDIA, that now we're kind of starting to enter the ChatGPT moment in physical AI and robotics? Do you think it's true or not quite there yet?
I think it will take some time because we still have to see actual robots in the real world. Like you see, in the airport, you see the vacuum cleaners, like, and you see how quickly people normalize those.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking we're entering this area because of many factors, like the cost of hardware is dropping, the cost of developing is dropping, the entering and learning about robotics, the barrier has been lowered than ever and is getting lowered even more. Let's say my bet is like in the next decade, like for sure we will have this moment.
Yeah. And for me, my personal take is also that it's super exciting. We see also a lot of videos of like amazing, let's say, control and hardware and so on. But real world is still extremely difficult for robotics.
Yeah.
So it's gonna take a while, but that also opens the doors, as you say, for small players. So it's not dominated just by big companies that can afford the hardware. So I'm also super excited to see where it goes.
And then another final thing that we do this for the local ecosystem, but I think there's a narrative that Europe doesn't innovate, and we're also trying to go counter this. And it's very important to connect the ecosystems with each other. So now we're discussing with other great innovation hubs like AI, or like we're having the Founders House from Sweden, like people visiting us next week to see how, because everything is like a 2-hour flight away.
Yeah, exactly.
So we want to see how can we connect the people and like mix the talent and like basically find the synergies between the ecosystems to innovate as Europe and not as, only Zurich or only Munich or only Stockholm.
I see, like, for example, ETH Robotics Club is also doing the same. There's this association for robotics across Europe.
Yeah.
So it's kind of similar idea behind it, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. That's really cool.
Amazing.
All right, perfect. So
thank you so much
again.
for the drive.
Thanks a lot. And it was a great chat. And thanks for being one of the early adopters as well.
Pleasure.
Format.